everybody, how's it going out there? Oh, I'm back. After a 2-week hiatus, I came back. So, just so you're aware, I was away because it got a little hot. And not only was it hot because it's summertime, it was also hot, a little too hot politically. I had to be the one who has to talk about politics and fandom and stuff like that because it got a little too hot, and it's like I had to take a step back for a bit, and so I made some little short throwaway videos. One of the biggest reasons I did step back is because of this. This, I will admit, was going to be sort of a running gag. In the last video I did in Fursuit, you'll notice that I did this, oh, we're going to talk about this, and then I got distracted, and I was going to talk about something, and then something else came up, and I talked about how the furries were going mainstream, and that was a very popular video, and thank you very much for watching that video and making it very popular. Hopefully I'll do more like that in the future, with more like cool little things that happen around furries in the mainstream. Hope to have good content like that in the future, but today, obviously, we're going to be talking about something a little darker, and so discretion is advised. So, unfortunately, I was going to do that again in the last video, 2 weekends ago. I was going to, make a jibe about that, and I was going to get distracted by something else, particularly the misprint in Maine, in a Maine newspaper about Donald Trump threatening fire and furry, and I was going to be like ducking under the table and peering up and going like, what the heck, man? I'm not going to go to North Korea. You can't make me go. And it was going to be a fun little episode, but unfortunately, humans ruin everything. And unfortunately, in Charlottesville, Virginia, an issue was coming around which sort of was tied with this. So in other words, the running gag sort of gagged me because I was like, well, now I can't do this whole I'm going to talk about this because I'm going to talk about this, but oh, it's not really important. Now I'm going to talk about something else because humans made this really important. So I'm going to just give you a short synopsis on what happened revolving around this individual. This individual was at Anthrocon 2017 with the Confederate battle flag fursuit, who eventually got covered up and escorted off the premise. It was found out that they were ghosting the convention, which for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that he didn't pay for registration. Every convention that you go to at a furry convention, you have to pay registration fees in order to be part of the events. If you don't pay the registration fee, but you still sort of partake in the events you can get away with without wearing a badge, you're called a ghost, or you're ghosting the convention. So literally, I was going to make an episode called The Ghost of General Lee Ghosts the Convention, and it was going to talk about the Confederate battle flag and sort of its history in America, and I might go over that still soon, but unfortunately, once again, the flag got dragged down even further than it already was, thanks to some individuals in Charlottesville. So we're going to end up talking about that. So it all started on that Friday night around the General Lee statue in Charlottesville at the newly renamed Emancipation Park, I believe. These folks brought in some tiki torches. These white dudes mostly white dudes in white and slacks, white shirts and slacks and khakis and stuff like that. And they started making some interesting chants, including this particular one. So blood and soil. So for those of you who don't know what blood and soil is, it was a Nazi chant created by Nazis in a time when there were Nazis, basically back in the 1930s. You can do the etymology search and stuff like that for the term blood and soil. But of course, to me, it would be, it doesn't sound too intimidating to me. I don't know why, but it does sound intimidating because there's blood in there. But all I can think of when I hear the term blood and soil is, the epithet released by a vampire who has incontinence problems. Oh, blood and soil, I just shat my britches. And apparently my vampire is Italian for some reason. Oh, man, blood and soil, oh. I need to change my depends. Blah, blah. Immortality is all fun and games until you get Crohn's disease. Then you got to deal with that for the rest of eternity. Blah, blah, and soil. So there was another chant as well that became pretty infamous. And the first time I heard about it, it was Jews will not replace us. And my reaction to that would have been like, a Jewish person would have been like, hey, are you going to replace you? No, we don't want to replace you. No, like, I'm good here, you good over there. I mean, you're not good, you're bad, you're very, very bad, but we don't want to be over with you. We want to be where we are. We're happy over here. We're fine, we're dandy. We don't want to replace you. You're good where you are. I mean, you're not good, but you're really bad. We're good, but I'm good here. I don't want to deal with it. You go away. We're fine. Don't worry about us. You worry about you. Seriously, it's like Jewish people are not going to replace you in a Nazi march. Just not going to happen. Like, you don't have to worry about it. But now, before all you guys start commenting in the comment section below and saying they didn't say that, that was the media misconstruing it. Hey, it's been 2 weeks, dudes. I already know your talking points. I already hear that. I already know that there's a misconception about what was said at that particular chant, because that was the first thing I heard about it, was the Jews will not replace us. But then there were other media that said it was you, as in Y-O-U will not replace us. Okay? I'm well aware of that fact. In fact, I think that both are true. I think that both chants occurred at the same time. You want to know why? Because that's how group theory works. You start off with the best of intentions, like, hey, we're going to make this chant of you will not replace us, and we're going to do this, all right? All right, let's do it. Okay, you will not replace us, next person. You will not replace us, next person. You will not replace us. What? Next person, what did he say? I think he's saying Jews will not replace us. Oh, let's do that then. Jews will not replace us, next person. Jews will not replace us, next person. Jews will not. You see what I'm saying? People can mishear things, and when they mishear things, they modify the chant. Or maybe someone did it purposefully. Maybe you have a really hardcore neo-Nazi in your group. I mean, whoa, who would have thought? But maybe, you're like, well, we want to be PC about it. We're going to make it you will not replace us. We're going to shout it down the line. And then a neo-Nazi hears it and goes, damn literal whitewashing sons of bees. I'm not going to say you will not replace us. I want to say exactly what I feel, and that is Jews will not replace us. And then he starts shouting Jews will not replace us, and everyone down the line from there starts shouting Jews will not replace us. This is why crowd control is a difficult thing. You can't control every individual. If you don't have full control over every individual, they're going to come up with their own things, and that's going to end up looking bad for you. That can happen. So that's why I think both are kind of true. But even if it is just you will not replace us, that sounds a bit defensive still. It sounds like you're feeling like you're backed into a corner and that there's no way out, and that they're coming for your jobs and you're not going to have any jobs and you can't, and you're going to be replaced. Because you must be somewhere of importance that you're worried about getting replaced at if you're chanting you will not replace us. But I have some advice. And, giving advice is sometimes very helpful in these kind of situations. So here's some advice. Number one, if you're worried about being replaced at your workplace, the best place not to go would probably be a rally in which is being attended by neo-Nazis and KKK members. Because if you go there and you present yourself as sort of being amongst that crowd, and your employer has to deal with customers that are black and Jewish and Muslim and different groups, and then they have to worry about the customers going, hey, I'm not going to give you money if you're going to give them money and have them go on their little Nazi field trips. I don't think so. I can spend my money across the street. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye. You don't want to put your employer in that awkward situation. So don't go to a Nazi rally and you will be a little less replaceable. Let's just say it that way. It's like, well, that's my free speech. It's like, yeah, but the employer has to talk about, the money talks and the BS walks. That's what capitalism is. But of course, I know National Socialists don't care about capitalism too much, but that's another bag of worms for another day. Let's talk about the second piece of advice. All this time that you prepared your physical body to get into a conflict and spent driving down there and attending this rally, all that time you spent doing that, you could have spent at home. You could have spent it improving your property value by mowing the lawn or something. You could have spent it, staining your deck and improving your property value that way. Or if we're not thinking in that way, maybe you can, practice a musical instrument. Or you could write poetry, or study or read about the world around you, or improve yourself and improve your ability to understand things and do things, to cook, to do whatever, cooking, study cooking, do something. Give yourself a variety of skill sets, and you will be less replaceable to those around you because you have the ability to do good things for those around you. And then you don't have to worry about going out and shouting, "You will not replace us! Oh my gosh, I spent all my time practicing on how to march in a straight line and shout epithets into the air. I'm so useful to an employer this way." When you could have been spending that time learning skills that you could have used in other things. Just a bit of advice, take it or leave it. But anyways, the next day happened, and unfortunately, things got a little more violent, and eventually things came to a head when some individual decided it'd be a freaking great idea to drive their vehicle through a crowd of counter-protesters, people who were there protesting against the neo-Nazi KKK Unite the Right rally. So here we go. Oh. Hold on. This thing is a little persnickety, and I will try to edit this out as much as possible. So let's see what happened.
The driver is identified as 20-year-old James Alex Field from Maumee, Ohio. Just before the attack, Fields...
Whoa, hold on a second. Say that again. Who's the guy who drove the car in there?
The driver is identified as 20-year-old James Alex Field from Maumee, Ohio. Just before the...
From where? Oh, that is just weird. That's gotta be weird. I mean, the guy was already... It's like, I think I know why the guy went crazy. Bear with me. Well, he was already crazy, yes, of course. He went to a neo-Nazi rally all the way from Ohio and drove all the way down there to, join a KKK neo-Nazi white supremacist rally. He was already a few marbles short of a bag, let's just say. But it's got to be even weirder when you're marching down the street with your fellow protesters, and the counter-protester goes out and yells, "Go home to mommy, Nazi!" And you come from a place called Maumee, Ohio. That's gotta be weird, right? That's gotta be like, how does he know where I live? How does he know where I live? Everyone keeps telling me to go home to mommy. And it's like, and everyone's like, dude, it's just an expression. Don't worry about it. No, they know I come from mommy. How do they know I come from mommy? They must have done docs on me. They must have dropped my docs. They must know it. Oh, look at all these witnesses. I got it. So, unfortunately, the guy who should have went home to mommy decided to drive his motor vehicle into counter-protesters and take the life of one young lady named Mrs. Heyer. It's Ms. Heyer. It's tragic. It's unfortunate. It's stupid. And during moments like that, you'd expect the leadership of the country to come together and say, disgusting acts like that are bad. And to be fair, he did. But he unfortunately tried to make it seem like the counter-protesters were equally as bad. Because, the counter-protesters drove a vehicle into the alt-right gathering. Which, no, they didn't. But equal things. Equal blame. We'll do that. But so that brings me to the next thing, which is the political speech that will somewhat live in infamy, because it'll be studied by a lot of political scientists for probably ages, probably a few decades at least. Or maybe it'll be studied for a long time, because it is so infamously bad, just all around. It just dumps everybody. It basically flips everybody the bird, including the alt-right, which they don't know yet, but hold on your horses. I'm going to show you why Donald Trump's Tuesday Tower speech screwed over the alt-right just as much as it did everyone else, as it did for every Americans who oppose white supremacy and stuff like that and don't want to be considered equal to the white supremacists when they counter their speech. Let me go, and if you don't believe me, well, here we go. So there is a very big thing that Donald Trump did during this Tuesday Tower speech, and if you haven't watched the full thing, I will put it up at the top there. But a lot of people have been talking about it already, so I don't want to retread old ground. But as a furry, furries are pretty good at this whole neologism thing. And neologism is an actual word. You can go look it up. Basically, it means coining new phrases in terms of phrase in order to have some derived new meaning. Playing with words, basically. Playing with... Because, you know, when you're talking about animal characters, you have to sort of, hopefully my thing didn't just crash. That would be bad. But, you know, you have to come up with new turns of phrases. You have to kind of hybridize words and have them give new meanings. So we're very good at playing language like that. So when we do this, Donald Trump did this during his speech. He used the term alt-left, which before he said it on that Tuesday speech, it didn't exist. So let me give you the context of when he said the alt-left. Oh my God, what the heck? I hope my thing didn't crash. That's not going to be good, because that's going to ruin the entire episode. Are you kidding me?